Hey everybody, good morning. It's beautiful fall. Oh my gosh, it's starting to get cold. It reminds me of actually the whole nostalgia happened, I think last week when I felt the weather change. It was like a spiritual upset of homeostasis. And so now I'm finally justifying wearing my hoodies and my sweaters. But I've been wearing hoodies and sweaters this whole summer. My wardrobe hasn't really changed that much, actually. Though I did put away all of my summer clothes, and we're now heading into fall, and then I can't wait till all the blizzards and everything else. So I just want to explain what biochemical triage is, because that is a word that I've been using that has been so appropriate in explaining the healing and the priority of healing. And so we know that vital organs is what the body is really mainly worried about. And then it does worry about the other non-essential or non-vital, as people would say, because I'm not saying they're non-essential, but the body can live without certain organs and have certain parts of the body be in chaos, and the body can still live. So biochemical triage is when the body sees that there is an issue, a major upset of homeostasis, there's some chaos and there's some death going on. And so it does work very fast to figure out how to repair that damage to keep you alive. Okay. And so there's two different contexts with biochemical triage. There is the allopathic holistic matrix biochemical triage, and then there is the jelly juice biochemical triage. Okay. And so you can call it symptoms, because that's what really biochemical triage is. But now you understand what it is with two words instead of one word. Okay. And that's exactly what the holistic and the allopathic system does. They characterize specific actions in the body with their vocabulary to then explain an intention. Okay. So it's like, let me give you an example of kind of how I know and how I'm familiar with this, is that when I did the work with Landmark Education, and they had a scenario, a tool or a technology type of thought process concept that humans, when they see actions, they make actions mean something based upon the filters in their body. Okay. Now they don't go into like biochemistry. They do everything by just what people conceptually think and how they view the world based upon their filters and their judgments and assessments and all that. So we're coming from more of a spiritual mind platform versus a biochemical, because they're not doctors, they're not nurses, and they make sure that they're not letting you know that they're not doing any kind of psychotherapy on you. So they're coming from more of a spiritual side, really, when you think about it, and a conceptual brain side. So when they're saying that, yes, you have a specific action, like somebody, like you're walking past a person and they give you a mean look. Okay. But you're in a crowd of people. There's probably people behind you, and you make that mean look mean something. You know, maybe you have racism in your past or in your future or in your current situation. So you're already coming from a point of just a weakness, that you have PTSD, you have trauma. And so whenever somebody gives you a mean look, you make it mean that they are racist against you, type of thing. Okay. And so that comes from the perspective, the intention of the person who is now projecting whatever insecurities based upon people's actions. And if they really actually ask the person why they gave them a mean look, it could be very well be it's true that the person is racist, or it could be the fact that they were looking beyond the person and they had like an ex-boyfriend they saw and they were given a mean look, or they just were thinking of something and they gave a mean look and the person happened to be right in front of them. Okay, so there's many different reasons why people get mean looks. It doesn't mean that what you make it mean, because really it's what you make things mean. So that's the same thing with the allopathic holistic world. They're taking specific physical symptoms and scenarios and actions in the body, and then they make it and they put a characterization on it. They make it, they find a way to describe the action based upon their intention. So they're coming from the Hippocratic oath and do no harm, and harm means don't cause pain and induce pain. And so they already characterize that pain is something bad. It means something bad. Okay. And that's no different than when somebody puts a judgment on somebody's behavior, a meaning on their behavior, when it really doesn't really mean that at all, but it's been widely in their world, widely just, accepted. And then in the allopathic holistic, it's now on a grander scale. It's not so much on an individual scale. So now you have not just one individual person with all of their insecurities. Now you have a whole industry of allopathic and holistic people with insecurities glommed together, then reinforcing that meaning behind pain. That's something bad, something you have to disappear, something that doesn't need to be experienced. Okay? And so then they call it symptoms. Pain and symptoms are interchangeably, they're used all the time. And so so I've characterized it as healing symptoms, but now really when you think about it, it's biochemical triage, because it's the chemistry of the body working to prioritize the severity of a situation. When you have weaknesses, the body goes into action. It goes into triage. Right there, when you walk into a hospital and you're injured and there's 10 other people injured, the hospital staff have to go and treat based upon priority. Okay. And so yeah, so then you're going to see then things written in the allopathic holistic, talk about strokes, talk about heart attacks, talk about all the different names of diseases, of manifestations of symptoms, because that's how then they create a market. But I don't even think that is, I mean, it could be the reason and intention, but it also is a way to then describe and give people some kind of like model to work from. If they have these types of symptoms, well, we need to make sure that we treat it correctly. And you may have, what you think is fibromyalgia, but it could be some other type of disease that has a kind of a similar characteristic, but the only difference is now another system is involved, and that's what makes it different than fibromyalgia. Now it's lupus instead of fibromyalgia, because now it's not as much nerve pain, but you're just tired and you have other types of issues going on, so it has more of the characteristics of lupus. So that's why they have the different names for stuff, because that's how people can then be grouped into I don't know, what do you call it, in groups, or grouped into some kind of control group, that then they do experiments with drugs to see if they could stop the pain, stop the symptoms. And that's really truly the meaning behind having names for symptoms. Okay. But really truly now with the J juice, why it's so similar to the allopathic holistic is because they've made mean the pain and symptoms mean something bad. Now we're realizing that pain and symptoms is just the body emergently working for you to figure out the priority. And when you're in the allopathic holistic experiencing symptoms, the body's going into biochemical triage, stealing from reserves to go and fix, or they are expelling any excess virus programming, bacteria programming, over mineralization programming. So you're seeing symptoms happen. You're seeing headaches happen. All of these different types of feelings, the pain is the body going and fixing the issues. And then how you then react to that pain is now going to be the difference of whether or not you prolong your life or you shorten it. Okay. So with the J juice, it brings up the pain, but it doesn't have you steal the reserves. You're bringing in the minerals that your body was missing. You're bringing in the nutrition the body was missing. And now it's going to work. So it's not depleting your reserves and stealing from other systems of your body. It's now taking what you're giving it finally and using it the way it was meant to. And yes, pain happens, because that's how the body survived when you guys were having issues in the allopathic holistic. You were in all this pain and you're trying to figure it out. And the body is just trying to frantically steal all the reserves in your body until some of you are left with nothing. And I know Krista had to deal with where she felt like she was a walking dead. And finally, she did the J juice. She's getting her reserves back. She's getting her life back, her body back. She's getting everything back. She's amazing. Okay. And so that's why it's so difficult. So the thing with the stroke, hold on a second. Now, here's the thing with people that get heart attacks and strokes, they already have weaknesses. And they say that sometimes, okay, well, they say, yeah, for those that already have weaknesses that, well, they're not even mentioning already have weaknesses. They say just across the board, oh, too much salt will cause a stroke, cause this, cause that. No, obviously, I've had so much salt in my life. I've eaten majorly processed food full of sodium and all of that, and I was able to handle it, and I still have low blood pressure. I've always had low blood pressure, and I've also eaten so many TV dinners and processed food prior to the J juice and never had any high blood pressure or strokes or heart attack or anything. So when somebody already brings to the table weaknesses, the body's already set to go into some kind of biochemical triage. And sometimes it happens just in inopportune times. It happens when you're doing something. It could happen, with any action or any food that you eat. And then what people do is they make that correlation equals causation. Oh, you ate that food, or you did this, or you did that, and it causes strokes. Da da da. No, it just so happened that your body was set to that to have a stroke or a heart attack because you already have weaknesses. It's already in your predisposition because you haven't changed the programming in your body. So yes, J juice is an energizing force. Yes, you're bringing in the minerals. Yes, prior to the J juice, how you survived your strokes and heart attacks is because you already had enough insurance, you had enough reserves in your body to handle those symptoms. That's why you lived through all of your symptoms. So now with the J juice, you're bringing in the minerals, you're bringing in all the different components that are balanced with the elemental composition of the human body. And now you're going to experience symptoms and actually fix the weaknesses. Okay. So the whole thing with the strokes and lactic acid, when people have already circulatory issues, okay, and other types of issues, the buildup of lactic acid in the brain is one of the, I wouldn't say causes, they say it's a cause, but really truly it's a weakness that you already have an imbalance. And then when you have lactic acid built up because you have weaknesses and the body is then trying, because there isn't much oxygen getting to your brain, you're having, you have all this cell degradation and the lactic acid doesn't help. And then you're not bringing in the elements, the right elements, the trace minerals, the electrolytes, the water, and all of that. So you have lactic acid built up, and then your brain also has weaknesses. Your circulatory system has weaknesses, and this is why strokes happen for some, but not others. Not everybody gets strokes. People that have strokes already sustained a weakness, and then the lactic acid buildup is already happening anyways, because you see people with lactic acid buildup. Either they're attracting pestilence, or they have other types of issues that go on that have to do with imbalances in their chemical, their biochemistry. Okay, so really truly, when somebody is experiencing a stroke, it's that weakness became pretty severe and the body goes into biochemical triage. But in the allopathic holistic, if you have a stroke, the body's still in reserves, but there is no chance, there's always a chance that you will not survive that stroke because you don't have enough reserves. But the fact that this lady and Dr. Phil did my juice and she survived and lived to tell about it and bitch about it is a testament to the fact that she survived the stroke because she had enough mineral reserves based upon the fact that she was exposed to the J juice in some way. And her body was trying to heal, and we gave her the minerals, the electrolytes, and all of that. Okay? And so that, also to do with waterfalls. Because Kevin and I were talking about waterfalls, and he's like, well, how is that like autophagy? I mean, he kind of knew, but he really wanted to know. He needed to find more proof, more substantiation. And you're not going to find, the waterfalls being substantiated in academia, because that's something that we have created to characterize what waterfalls or diarrhea or explosive diarrhea is in the J juice. Because remember, they make things mean something in the allopathic holistic world. But when somebody gets diarrhea in the allopathic holistic in the matrix, not on J juice, it's the fact that there's a poison in the body, or a person took in a virus that they can't handle, or a bacteria that they can't handle, or even eating a poison, like too much of a conglomeration of minerals or elements, and the body goes into biochemical triage. And what that means is it takes all the water that it has, it takes the electrolytes, any mineral reserves, any other nutrition that's in the body, and it works and it targets the digestive system, it targets the intestines, and it pushes out or makes you either throw up or it pushes out the pathogens. And so when someone has food poisoning, guess what? They're in the bathroom either throwing up and having diarrhea because they took in all of these bacteria and viruses and whatever, okay? And the body couldn't handle that data. Now, I probably could eat someone that would get food poison, like a food that someone would get food poisoning from, and I would survive it because I have a strong system. But on a weaker person, they couldn't handle some of these pathogens and these things. Pathogens only on a weak body because their body can't handle the extra data. So that's why people then go to the hospital when they have the flu because they can't handle the flu virus. They go to the hospital because they've been throwing up and diarrhea and all over the place. And then guess what? They have to go get rehydrated. They have to go get electrolytes. They have to go get the glucose and the water to then replenish their reserves, but for a short amount of time because they're not doing it on a continuous basis. That's just then the medical biochemical triage. Okay, so whenever you call the doctor and you call the nurse and you call the holistic person or a naturopathic, they're administering biochemical triage to your specific symptoms. And that's how it works, because you don't have the capacity in your body to be able to handle your system's symptoms. So then you bring in the professionals who will then apply poisons, or they'll apply electrolytes and sugar in an IV bag, and they get you stabilized. They're not trying to bring you like to an amazing health. No, they're not trying to prolong your life really, truly. They're just trying to get you back to where you were before. And if you're already disjointed and full of anomalies, they're not going to try to fix every single issue, but they want to get you into that adaptive homeostasis that you were used to. But now you are progressively getting worse because you haven't fixed your issues and you're still living the same lifestyle, and the world is ever evolving and you can't handle the data. So with the J juice, you're bringing in the electrolytes, you're bringing in the water, the lactic acid, the micro and macro nutrition. So the body doesn't have to go and steal it to heal. It's taking all of that data in the Jilly juice, and it's finally able to then fix the issues, of which why then you have symptoms. Because it's still, again, a biochemical triage, but now the body isn't stealing from itself. You're bringing the stuff in, and then you're replenishing the reserves, and you still got to heal. You're still going to have symptoms. You can't get away from that. Okay? And so this is why I have to not make up, but I have to bring in words that are that people don't normally see together, like biochemical triage. What the hell? That's new. But just like I call data pack. Okay, you know what's a data pack? A food is a data pack. This right here's a data pack. This is a wake up data pack. Coffee, but it has caffeine. It has other minerals. It gives me a slight little charge, not like a major one. Like I used to drink like 6 shots of espresso, like the 6-shot espresso mochas, the Mocha Valencia with Starbucks, like 10, 15 years ago. And I remember how wired I was. I can't get wired off this. I mean, this gives me kind of like, okay, a little wake up, but my body's biochemistry is so now well balanced that it doesn't get affected by the minerals in here as much. I mean, you see me kind of excited, but I'm already excited anyways, just because I'm so excited because of this information is so amazing. But I mean, this gives me a little bit of a lift, but believe me, it ain't giving me like what it used to, but this is not either espresso. Now I have actually went back to Starbucks a couple weeks ago and got their marshmallow drink, and I only put 1 shot. I'm not trying to get myself wired. I'm already a wired person anyways. I'm already excited. So there's no really reason for me to go and take drugs, but I'm sure it would take a lot more drugs nowadays if I were to do drugs to give me that high, because my body is really that resistant to those types of influences. It would take something pharmaceutical grade to really get me to another level. But the usual, like the stuff that's pretty benign, it wouldn't really affect me, but it might affect other people who have very sensitive systems. So anyway, so biochemical triage happens in the allopathic holistic world because the body is trying to steal resources, or you're bringing in drugs to then manage your symptoms. And that's another biochemical triage, but you're bringing in the wrong combination of chemistry. And then there is a biochemical triage with the healing, because when you guys do the J juice, you're not going to see like all of your systems and symptoms be disappeared and everything is wonderful. It happens in layers. It happens in priority. It's biochemical triage yet again. though there are certain universal similarities like the waterfalls, because when you're bringing in a bunch of the J juice, what happens? It's bringing in the water, brings in the electrolytes, it brings in the micro and macronutrition, and then all the poisons, all the things in your body that don't belong. It's like an autophagy process. It's like a concerted effort of autophagy. So instead of one or two cells kind of ganging together to autophagize something, okay, it is now all the cells working in concert together to release what is excess the body can't handle. And once it releases what the body can't handle, then it sets to repair the weaknesses. So that way you can handle more things later on. But right now you're at your limit. That's why you have mucus. That's why you have symptoms and weaknesses. That's why you have the autophagy, the waterfalls, and you're leaking everywhere. Because I mean, I had the rash from a long time ago come to surface, and it was weeping. It was excess stuff that needed to leave the body. Okay. And so once the body then releases the excess based upon the current state of the body, then it sets to repair the damage that was done. And this whole thing with the pain, because also too, pain can be correlative to something immediate. Like if there's a hot surface, you touch it, okay, you pull back, and then there's pain, and oh my God, it feels horrible. Then you go try to relieve the pain and all that stuff. Okay, so that's like an immediate correlation, causation type of negative reinforcement. But then the symptoms that you have from generations, there are things that happen to your generation that happened like maybe 300 years ago that you're still paying for in your genetics. And so when you do the Jilly Juice, it's going to take care of that, but you have no recollection how that happened. It wasn't your fault, but it was your ancestors' fault. So you're actually paying for the sins and fixing the sins of your ancestors. And so this is why when people do J Juice, they get off their platform of activism. They don't have that filter of racism anymore. They actually treat people as if they actually really, was loved by the community. And so you see a change in people's persona. And this is how we're going to change the futures, because we're finally going to deal with the past. And some of the past, you don't remember how it created those weaknesses to then manifest your personality, your perception of the world. Okay? And so you're not always going to know how you got those weaknesses and why the pain exists in this area. You're like, oh my God, I have this pain, but I never had any weakness that I know of or any kind of traumatic event ever since I was born. But there are things that happened to you and your ancestors that happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago that now you finally have to go and reconcile with. And this is one of the biggest things about J Juice, is that having to reconcile the fact that it wasn't J Juice causing and hurting you. No, you finally have to deal with pain in the areas that you just never knew that there was an issue with, because it was never something that was brought to your attention in any way, shape, or form in your current life. But your mom dealt with it, your grandma dealt with it, and it may have actually happened initially like from your grandparents. Right, yeah, Vicky. And that's the thing, is that we are now finally fixing the sins of the father. Okay? And so biochemical triage is a flat statement that does happen. Now, what triggered the biochemical triage and what are the contributing factors that follow up to biochemical triage is what makes a difference. It is what creates the context. Okay? And so it's not just the actual symptom itself that people need to worry about. It's what led up to it to begin with and why. And that's why it's very difficult to explain J Juice and the manifestations to someone who is still stuck in one context that hasn't been introduced in a gentle way why we are inducing pain, because it's finally being able to handle the healing process, and you're bringing in the elements. The body isn't stealing elements from your body and then causing you to age. You're bringing in resources, reinforcements that you ordinarily did not have before. And this is why you're seeing people who look like they were basically at death's door finally look alive, finally got the life back, because they're bringing in life and they're balancing it with the right chemistry. Okay? And so this is why J juice is so revolutionary, and we've cornered the market. There is going to be nothing out there that's going to at all equalize jelly juice. Nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Because everybody out there in the matrix that's not on jelly juice is coming from a very narrow standpoint. You know exactly where everybody else is coming from. When you're on J juice, you know exactly the perspective, the platform that your friends and family are coming from. And that's why you have to really be, if you can't really explain J juice in a lot of ways and why things happen the way they happen, then you just have to actually be around, do the J juice, and your body should be changing. And it's not going to change overnight. It's going to take probably a few years before people are like, holy shit. Okay. And you have to keep stepping up your game. And so, you know, so this is why it's going to be a time thing versus an immediate, because J juice is not immediate. And you've seen it. I mean, people were just freaking out the last couple of years because J juice is not immediate. It's not like you're going to look, you know, it's not like you're going to be 75 today and look 75 and then look like you're 30 in like, you know, 3 months. No, believe me, I wish that would happen, but it's not. Okay. And you got to deal with the pain process and deal with the healing process. So biochemical triage and data pack, and now the whole thing with the processed food, and I know that people think that processed food is cheaper because it's doing things in bulk, but it's also the fact that there's so many people that that really can't, you know, that can't afford the processed food, so they'll stay away from it and they'll go to things that are more expensive, more what they say is organic, more whole food, more, I don't know, because I actually yesterday I had hamburger helper. So I took like a pound of hamburger and fried it up and then put the mix in, and I was looking at the ingredients, and yeah, it's all these minerals with different names to it. But when I actually tasted it, it wasn't that strong. It wasn't full of sodium. It wasn't salty, and it was cheap. It was $1.49 for a box. $1.49. Okay, because it's so cheap. All it is just the pasta, the powder, and then you add in milk and you add in water. Okay, so you're already adding in other ingredients to create a chemical process to then thicken up, and all the different minerals are just things that is able to be processed. It's edible, but it has a chemical process to be able to fill you up and look a certain way, and you know, be a certain way and cook a certain way. And so, you know, it's like chemistry. It's just like doing the J juice, but it's a processed food, and it's great. And you know, I drank some of my juice too, and it's just all the different minerals and the different salt, and then I'm getting the micro and macronutrition from my juice, and then from the meat and from the milk. I mean, it was a complete meal. Okay, and it's so cheap. But people who want to be healthy or change their lifestyle, and there's so many sick people out there, so many, and then you're seeing all the ads and all of the fear mongers are away from the processed food. Oh God, Kraft and Monsanto and this and that. So you're seeing all these activist groups that are just, you know, boycotting Procter and Gamble and all these big, huge biotech food companies. And so, yeah, they got to make it cheap because they already are up against, you know, people's perception of them because of their own imbalances. And so, you know, it's like, so the more expensive food is the whole food. I mean, obviously the meat is more expensive, and then the organic or the produce, you know, the fruits and vegetables, and then you have more of the specialized ready-made food that's more fresh, like the salsa and the cut up fruits and vegetables already processed for you, but it's processed fresh, and they're a lot of money. Okay, so those that are finally able to be well balanced and can actually live symbiotically with their environment and really take advantage of the processed foods, because you know how to keep balance and your body's finally able to handle all the data packs. Because really, that hamburger helper is a huge data pack, but on a weak body, people would have issues. It would compound issues, or if you're trying to heal and you're trying to release excess minerals, it would work against you until you get your body well balanced, until you release the excess minerals that are coagulating and accumulating in your body. And so now you know how to feed your body. You know what kind of foods will fill you up more. Okay, because it's a balance. Because you have too much minerals and too much this, too much that, it's going to cause anomalies. but too little, you're going to be starving. So now it's understanding, it's like it's doing a reset. It's doing a total reset. And so that kind of escaped somebody's purview yesterday when I was on somebody's page and talking about, they're like, oh yeah, just juicing cabbage is everything, is the end all be all. And I'm like, no, really, actually, it's fermenting. If you actually add pink Himalayan salt and you ferment it with water and cabbage and kale and all that stuff, it's a total different process. They're like, oh no, that's total different remedy or whatever. I'm like, no, this is not a remedy. This is a total reset. And oh my God, that guy got so incensed. He called me ignorant. And I'm like, ooh, and I want to respond back, hey, hold the mirror up. But you know what? There's no point. I don't want to antagonize anymore. Some people, it's hard for them to get behind the fact that it's not just juicing your fruits and vegetables. It's not just eating fruits and eating raw vegetables when you have an already malfunctioned body, because you can't process it. You can't get access to that nutrition that you really, really want. So yes, you have to basically bring it to somebody else's stomach, like the bacteria. The lactobacillus creates a byproduct called lactic acid. And then it breaks down the cabbage and kale to where you get access to that nutrition because it's been digested. It's pre-digested, no different than mother's milk, so to speak, no different than a baby bird getting regurgitated food from the mother. Okay, it's been processed. It has all the right enzymes, all the right bacteria, all the right acids, and all the right nutrition. And this is why it's so like full of good nutrition, full of good data, and it's easily absorbable. And then yes, the body then will induce a concerted effort of autophagy. And then this is where the pain comes in. This is where where you're pooping now more. Because I took some of my juice last night because yes, I still had the meat from the other night still in my system. I knew that because I can kind of feel it. I felt myself farting because after I ate the hamburger helper, so I don't do meat twice in a row because I know that I didn't poop a lot when I had the steak, the chuck steak that I gave to my dog a little bit and my husband. And so I was fine with that. I wasn't bloated. My body was still processed. I'm like, wow, okay. So that's when I was okay with not really pooping a lot that day. And then I compounded that again, making hamburger helper for my husband yesterday when he was home for a minute. And so I ate that and then I started feeling the gas. And I'm like, but then it wasn't like pooping out. And I could have waited until this morning to see if it came. But I wanted to get rid of the gas and all that stuff. So I drank my juice. I didn't drink a lot. I didn't do waterfalls. But it really helped move things, help things go. Because I knew that when you start having gas and you start feeling a little bit of pressure, it wasn't a lot of pressure. I mean, I could have probably been okay. And I don't like farting a lot all night long. So I wanted to help it along. And so I just took like 2 cups of my juice, pushed it along because it's a lot of data, and when you are pooping, you have to kind of help, or not pooping, but like you are farting. It's like the body says it's getting rid of the stuff. It's going through its processes, but the gases from that meat and all of that body breaking it down is releasing energy, and then you're just helping it along. You're taking now, instead of one stomach trying to process it, now I'm taking 13 billion stomachs and processing that food. So that's kind of how I see my J juice at this juncture. So with you guys doing J juice in the beginning, you're taking not just your stomach, you're taking now 500,000 stomachs in all of its secretions, and it's breaking your food down and repairing. You're getting the nutrient. That's why you're not doing just lactic acid probiotic shots that are served out there in allopathic holistic world. You're fermenting with the cabbage and the kale and all of that nutrition. And then you're also bringing in the pink Himalayan salt, the electrolytes, the trace minerals, the sodium chloride, then the water, and then you know what the symptoms are. It's biochemical triage. And then you just relax. You drink the J juice and you let your body go through its intelligence. And you understand what it is and you're not worried about it. And you're like, wow, I love this rash on my face. Oh, wow, I love the fact that I'm getting a sty or something, You will then embrace all of these manifestations, the biochemical triage, the body dealing with each of these issues, in a very organized way. You're not trying to control the process. You're just bringing in the nutrition. Let the body go to work. That's what it's there for. Okay. And so that's why now we need to rename symptoms to biochemical triage, because that's what it is. Because symptoms have also another connotation. It has a pejorative type of how would I say it? Not say influence, but it brings up things in people that want to then stop the symptoms. But I call it healing symptoms so people understand. So it's a transition. So in a way, when I put it, healing symptoms is a transition from the allopathic holistic to the J juice, but now it's biochemical triage. I'm gonna write this down because it's a key word, just like data pack. Okay, all your food is a data pack. And the same thing, you know, I mean, yeah. Biochemical, just like the processed food. Okay, processed food and J juice. So J juice is the ultimate raw processed food. And again, it is bringing in and linking the both worlds, but I'm not going to have another name for it. I'm going to still, it's still raw processed food, but it's the ultimate because it's raw. So you're getting, so it's not cooked, which is not bad that you cook stuff, but it's not cooked. And then it's processed because it goes through a chemical process, and you have to take an appliance and you have to break down that vegetable. And then you have to break it down even more through a chemistry process. So it's broken down even more, and then it's utilizing the bacteria. Because again, what is mucus and symptoms? It's too much of the bacteria and the viruses and the parasites and trace minerals on a weak body. And so you have to hit reset, get rid of the excess the body can't handle, and then go back and rebuild the body so it can handle all of that data. Because all that data, all that shit in your body, all those parasites, all that fungus, and all those excess minerals would be great on a stronger body. See, a stronger person could utilize everything that you're releasing. You know, when you pee, when they say, like, when a person gets stung by a jellyfish, and they say, oh yeah, they have to go get peed on by a person. Well, all that is just minerals, but it has an antibiotic effect. It has where it stops the pain, the stinging, like right off the bat. So all your pee is just extra minerals that the body doesn't need. All of your poo is all the excess stuff that the body doesn't need on the body's current state of condition. But wait, when you finally strengthen your body, you'll still pee and poo, but you'll be able to handle a lot more. And that's why I'm able to eat processed food and not go into like, oh my God, I'm feeling guilty and feeling like, oh my God, no. That's why I'm able to eat meat. That's why I'm not worried about walking into, you know, potentially pathogenic environments on a weaker body. I can walk into most environments out there and not get adverse reactions. Now, am I going to go test it and go turn the car on in a closed room? No, I'm not going to do that. That would be stupid. But I can go into most environments that are relatively peaceful, even though there's, like, you know, pathogenic chaos going on. Because yeah, when you walk near an oil refinery and there's all this soot and smoke being blasted out, and then your body goes into like, oh yeah, it's mucus is coming out because it's releasing the excess. And then you drive away from that oil refinery, and then you get into cleaner air, and your body isn't working as hard. Okay, so that's all your body system is doing. It's releasing based upon, or it's accumulating based upon the state that your body's in. But with the J juice, it's releasing things that it can't use at that time. But believe me, if you were on a stronger body, it could have used all that. But that's like putting the cart before the horse. You've got to deal with the state that your body's in today and not try to project that you could have used all of that, but your body didn't have, the device wasn't upgraded enough. The upgrades to your device is so paramount so you can handle all the data and not have to pay top dollar for all that data. Because that's what's going on right now, is people are paying so much money to have all this data that's not even chemically processed in the right way to match your biochemistry. So it's just going in one system and out the other, and nobody is taking advantage of it. So those that are doing the vegan and vegetarian juicing their fruits and vegetables on a very weak body, they're just paying all this money, and they're just pissing out all their money. It's pissing it out. So that's just another way to explain, which is another concept, another way of saying something, in a different way. But it's a transition from trying to merge both worlds. But it is a good transition, just like J juice and vaccines are a transition from one world to another. Okay, so healing symptoms has been the transition, and now we can finally call it biochemical triage, because it happens in different contexts, but the body's still doing what it needs to do. So what used to be healing symptoms, it's biochemical triage. Because let's look up biochemical. I mean, just let's get the definition. Biochemical. Relating to the chemical processes and substances which occur within living organisms. A biochemical substance. So it has to do with the chemical processes and substances which occur within living organisms. And then you look up triage, which you guys know what triage is, but it is in medical use, the assignment of degree of urgency to wounds or illnesses to decide the order of treatment of a large number of patients or casualties. So then you go and take that and then substitute all of your symptoms. That's no different than when you go into a hospital with all the different wounds, because every person is like a cell in your body or a system in your body when you think about it. Okay? And so the body has to go into biochemical triage to treat severities and has to steal from Peter to pay Paul type of thing. Now, the medical system isn't doing that in the ER, but they have to go and set degrees of urgency so they don't let somebody die in the waiting room. So someone with a gunshot wound is going to be superseding somebody that has a broken arm, okay? Because someone's losing blood. A broken arm can kind of wait for a minute before that guy that has, a gunshot that's bleeding profusely, okay? So that's exactly what the body goes through, even in the allopathic holistic world. And that's why people survive their symptoms, but not everybody does because they're not refilling their mineral reserves, okay? But those that don't survive their symptoms, their biochemical triage still happens, but they don't have enough resources. So just like a hospital, if the hospital loses their money and loses their staff, and they're still getting an influx of all these injured people, guess what? People are going to die, okay? Then the whole community dies because they're not getting those issues taken care of. Because the community is still going to live, is still going to do stuff, and then the people go to the hospital and they have all these issues. But imagine if everybody that has issues goes to the hospital and nobody gets taken care of. They're all dead. And the people are still going to keep living and still having issues, and they keep going through the hospital system. But if it gets bottlenecked up in the hospital system and there's not enough staff or resources, that community basically dies because nobody is doing the triage and taking care of them so they can go home and then get stabilized. So imagine everybody has a flu in one community, like 100 people have the flu, and they need to go get rehydrated and go to the hospital, and the hospital doesn't have the resources. Guess what? 100 people just died. That's like your body. When it doesn't have the resources, the person will fucking die, okay? And so that's what J-Juice is, the resources, and then you go into biochemical triage yet again, but now you'll probably survive it if you're not that far gone, and you keep doing the J-Juice, okay? So I'm hoping that some of these analogies make sense, because that's why J-Juice is working so well. That's why I feel amazing. I look amazing, I know. And it's far different than what I was doing and looking like 2 years ago. Even on Dr. Phil, I've changed since Dr. Phil. Okay? So this is why you guys got to stay on the J-Juice. Stop playing footsie with J-Juice. Take it freaking seriously. And you know what? Take a break from your high octane lifestyle and actually heal. Just heal. You have the rest of the life of however many years that's left here, as long as the sun is shining and we have photosynthesis. You have so much time. Some of you now I know have kids and you have to, take care, which I understand. But if you don't have kids, or if there's ways in which you can then elicit the help of your community so you can heal, there's ways in which you guys can still be able to accelerate the healing process so it's not drawn out so much. Because sometimes, when you have so much data in the universe and then you're not bringing enough data really to take care of your body, the data in the universe will overtake your weak body. So you have to keep stepping up. You have to keep pushing the envelope, because I'm telling you, the universe is unfolding. It's evolving very fast. I mean, who's to say when the Ebola virus is going to come to our front doorstep, to where then you have to be faced with getting some kind of inoculation to help manage that new environment that you're in. I mean, hey, it's just, you can't stop evolution. You can't stop all the different changes in the climate and in the environment. You have to keep up, but you also have to prioritize. And your family will not do any good without you, or if you're laid up in bed because you're not taking care of a sickness. But yes, the J juice will have you laid up in bed for a certain amount of time if you have issues. So you just you work it the best way you know how. And I understand everybody has their different schedules, but just don't let the healing get away from you. Don't. Sometimes you have a lot of energy because you did get through a layer of healing and you want to go and expend it, and then you weaken yourself again because you're not ready yet. Just like reintroducing foods too early. You don't want to reintroduce foods too early. Your body will let you know if that food has too many minerals that right now you can't take. But then maybe give it 5 or 6 more months. You go back to the same restaurant with the same food and your body can take it. That's how you know that you've healed, is that you finally strengthen your body to handle more of the data that's in your universe that's been FDA approved. Because I'm saying the FDA is not going to approve poisons, but they're only poisonous on a weak body. And then people who project that you're ignorant or that's poisonous is coming from a state of weakness. It's not that it's poisonous, it's that they're basically weak. They can't handle their environment or any kind of food. And so they're projecting their weaknesses onto everybody else. And then that's their reality. And then this is why activists are activists, because they're projecting their weaknesses onto everybody, not realizing that we're surviving the 5G. We're actually living with 5G. I'm living with the chemtrails. I'm living with the 5G. I'm living with the Monsanto and the GMO and the Roundup, and oh my God. But those that have weak bodies can't handle any of that. We have the FDA, the EPA, the USDA, the CDC. They already are the watchdog agencies that know generally what people can handle. Now you individually are responsible to strengthen your body, and if you're weak, we'll see it, because you will be throwing your weaknesses at me left and right. So that's why I don't really respond to now really those that insult me, because I know where they're coming from, and it's not their fault. They don't know any better, and I can't antagonize anymore. But I will drop seeds. But yeah, it does take a lot for me to say, oh, look, put up a mirror, and I really want to say this, but why antagonize? What's the point? When I get nasty emails, I just forward them on to the FBI agent that I talk to, okay? And let them handle it. And then they can see a pattern and trace all the IP addresses and figure out who's doing what and profiling all the idiots that are out there. They're trying to attack me, okay? So it's like, whatever. I don't even respond anymore to any of the naysayers because there's no point in it. I drop seeds, and those that want to characterize me as ignorant and this and that, well, they're just a reflection of themselves. They're projecting. So it really truly comes down to take care of yourself, drop seeds when you can, and don't feed into the BS. And then really who you're trying to help out is your friends and family, not some stranger who has absolutely no basis point of where the hell you're coming from. Okay, strangers, it's great that you can help a stranger, but not all strangers are going to want your help. And that really shouldn't be your focus. Really, your friends and family, people that know you best, are your focus. Strangers are strangers. They'll take you or leave you. They don't really care. But if you've developed a relationship with a stranger on Facebook, then they're not a stranger. But when you go into groups and then you're trying to convert the group, you can drop seeds here and there, but let me tell you, don't have an expectation that they're going to get it. Some will, because they've already been exposed to J-Juice and been part of the group, because 60,000 people is a lot of people, that it took us a week or two to actually delete every single person out of that group, okay? So, there's probably people that are been exposed to J-Juice, and now you're just reinforcing the same information, and who knows what you might say, but just don't have an expectation that a stranger is going to get it, okay? So really your focus really needs to be on your friends and family. And, let all the naysayers give me the marketing. Because, yeah, people will stop by, they'll stop by email, and I'll still block them and say I'll report to the FBI, but also will give them the YouTube video of the Bruce Wilmot, as well as the YouTube video of why I saved that lady from a stroke. And that's it. And then they can go and ruminate over that and talk smack, or I'll give them the YouTube video of the whole elemental biochemical construct when they're trying to focus on the whole LGBT stuff. I'll give them, and then some of them will ask me a question. Well, what do you think of this? And I'll if they were offended by something and they want to articulate it in a very intellectual way, I'll apologize, and I'll give them the the video of my retraction, of my awakening of certain things, and then they'll take it or leave it. And that's it. That's all I really need to do with anyone that has an issue, because that's all the issues that are out there, is just those stupid things that happen during the growth process of J-juice. And you're going to have growth process. Teenagers don't live a perfect lifestyle. They've made mistakes. So this whole thing with J-juice is like watching a baby grow into a toddler, into a regular elementary school kid, to then a teenager, and to finally an adult. And so you're watching that growth process, and growing pains happen. It's unavoidable. And luckily, hopefully, my growing pains will then help you guys not have so many growing pains, but you will, because you're going through your own growth process. It's just not as advertised as mine. Okay? And hopefully the things that I learned, you guys won't make the same mistake that I did. Okay? And so it'll make your journey through J-juice a lot more easier. And then I can be that experienced voice and say, okay, you probably shouldn't advertise me in this way, or yourself, or try to do this, because you don't want to have the government on your ass. And I got to deal with the American government. We have laws and rules and advertising ways that it needs to be in a very specific way. Though other countries have their own advertising, but it's, you really should know your country's advertising if you're going to have a website. Social media gives you a lot more freedom to say what you need to say. Social media does. So utilize the social media really, truly, if you don't know the laws of your country. As soon as you have a website, you guys are under total different laws. Okay? So stick to social media, stick to your friends and family. Don't try to advertise this on the open market, because it's no point in doing that. And just enjoy the healing process. And I'm going to go, but you guys, I'm going to put this on YouTube. But you guys stay with the J-juice. Don't ever give up. Okay? All right. Bye.